I'm thinking people that are listening to this podcast and or maybe watching it are thinking to themselves, I'm in that situation where, I have a W-2 and I'm pursuing real estate, or I'm in real estate. I'm already doing some deals. It sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing was that was the fork in the road moment, so to speak, for you, in that you realize that, hey, keeping my full-time W-2 job isn't going to allow me to stack enough rentals to bring in this cash flow that I need. Was that kind of the decision point for you where you're like, okay, I need to transition from a full-time, nurse practitioner to let me get into real estate full-time?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Once I had that realization that it wasn't possible to do what we wanted to do quick enough for the purpose of the money, right? Like the college education's coming, right? And we had 15 years to be prepared for that. And we weren't going to be able to do that in time for all three of our children. So once I realized that, I was like, well, we have to build a business then. So the goal then became, instead of building rentals passively and getting passive income from rentals, I was like, you know what? The goal should be that we build a business that we own passively.
Yeah.
What's wrong with having a business? If I'm owning it and it's running, that sounds to me just about the same as it is to have rentals, because you're still going to deal with some stuff. Like I still get calls from a property manager about whatever happens. Mm-hmm. And even though it's pretty easy to manage, it's still something. And if we grow a business and we get it to the point where it's hired out and it has systems and processes and we're in the owner's box, that sounds like we can make that money faster and then be able to invest that in the rentals. And then now that active income turns passive because we've systemized it.
Yeah.
So I kind of convinced Zach, like, that's probably the best way to do this. And that's where the monster comes in, right? And they're like, systems and processes. That's when I really dug in. I was like, wow, there really is a way to build something here, and that's truly, I think, who I am. It's like, I can grow something. If you give me an idea, if you give me a concept and I get it and I believe in it, I can grow it. It may take some time, but I can do that, right? So that became that totally shifted our focus. And it honestly put acquiring rentals a little bit on the back burner for a while, because if we bought too many rentals, even when we got the cash, it killed our cash flow.
That's right.
Because now we didn't have the money to pay for the marketing or the employees. Like we couldn't invest all of it. We could only invest some of it. So it kind of changed our approach. And there was several points in this journey where I felt like we made the wrong decision. I was like,
really?
What the hell?
Talk a little bit about that.
My gosh.
Yeah, because I want to kind of get inside your mind here, and more importantly, like what you were feeling, because I think as entrepreneurs, Stephanie, and you know this better than most, it's not always peaches and rainbows and unicorns. In fact, oftentimes it's a struggle. It's a challenge, whether it's team members or whether it's systems breaking down or deals falling through or overhead growing. I mean, there's so many things that as entrepreneurs and real estate investors we deal with that most of the outside public only sees the checks posted on Facebook and the Facebook lives from in front of the house, and the HGTV, they make it look so easy, right? And but that's not reality. Reality is being an entrepreneur can be very challenging, and sometimes it can be lonely, especially if you haven't been proactive and intentional about surrounding yourself with people like Stephanie, right? So talk a little bit about some of those kind of moments of adversity when you were like, did we make the right decision? It's so much easier, quote unquote, to just go back to my full-time, W-2 as a nurse practitioner.
Oh my gosh, I've had so many moments of just utter defeat, when, just like you said, the deal doesn't close that you're counting on, right? Like to make payroll or to make the marketing thing, and the deal blows up, and then you feel just horrible about letting down a homeowner or, letting down your family, right? And I think the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is dealing with that pressure of everything mattering. Everything is so important. Like everything has to work, right? And then it inevitably doesn't. And it's just because you're trying to forge a new trail. Like things have to work for it to go forward, right? Because there is no path. You have to make the path. So when things don't go right and you're slowed down, it just feels like an utter failure. Mm-hmm. Like I think the key to being a successful entrepreneur is having that not defeat you anymore. Having failure be part of the journey and not the reason to stop. You know what I'm saying? So
100%. Like Ryan Holiday talks about in his book, the obstacle is the way. You know, it's
100%.
That's right. No, I think it's spot on. And you know, it's for those of you listening, I want you to adopt that mindset and expect adversity. And for me, what's been really helpful, Stephanie, in my journey is when I'm met with adversity, which sometimes feels like happens on a daily basis, if not weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
I stop and pause and say, for me, right, God is prepping me for something bigger. God is prepping me to grow. And so for you, that might be something else, but always reframe it as this is an opportunity to grow, learn, and to become a better version of father, mother, husband, entrepreneur, wife. You get what I'm saying? So that reframe for me and that self-awareness has been huge in my life and in my business.
I couldn't agree more. I honestly think that is the key. And I've kind of developed these like little things that I tell myself, right, to deal with obstacles and deal with issues. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm expecting problems, right? Yeah. And I eat problems for breakfast.
Oh, I love that mindset.
Anything, I know, like anything, if anyone can figure it out, I can figure it out, right? That's and like, right. And you just keep telling yourself these things until you really believe them. That's and right. That's the thing that gets you through, right? And I like that's my mantra now, and like that's how I recruit people even to work with us. Is like, if you don't believe that you can eat problems for breakfast and that like we deal with problems and we deal with them fast, like then we're not going to be a good culture fit, because everybody here is our problem solvers, right? Like for homeowners, for business, for whatever, like we're here to solve problems, and problems are not failure. Problems are like you said, part of the path.